This last month of November has been interesting, and my making have felt pulled in a lot of different directions just from my own, kind of curiosities and but have really been feeling an inability to focus on one thing. I'm wanting to do everything at the same time, from knitting, spinning, weaving, sewing. Do I start a quilt project? Like everything is kind of like running through my head, it feels like. So I haven't really had the clarity or focus to create an update vlog here, but this is my attempt. So bear with me if it feels as scattered as I'm feeling in my kind of creative life. But I have this table behind me of some fibery goodness, and I believe I just showed footage of me documenting some of my hand spun skeins. So I don't do that for all of my skeins, but for kind of my bigger spins, I try to make sure I document what the finished product is to the best of my ability. Nothing, I'm sure, is 100% exact, but just giving myself guidelines and information on what I can make with that yarn. Of course, the next step would be to swatch with the hand spun. Yeah, I believe I've shared these skeins before, but these three gray are from fleece that I hand processed and carded and spun, and I think it's coming out somewhere around a sport weight in terms of the yardage. Maybe DK, but it looks lighter than a DK to my eye. So that's always hard with hand spun, is that I will think it's one thing, but maybe the numbers are telling me something different, so I don't know. And this skein is really special. I'm excited to knit with this, but I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Maybe a hat. I started this journal not that long ago, a couple months ago, and this is just a traveler's notebook, if you're in the stationery world at all, with a gridded insert, and I've got this nice little cardboard and kind of plastic, I don't know what this is called, plastic insert thing, just to collect little bits and bobs. And I am trying to make this like my fiber making journal and document some of the events that I've gone, yarn that I acquire, and such. So this is like a little Rhinebeck spread I did of just little, you can see all of my wristbands from the events that we went to, and I kind of made notes of what I acquired. I have like gift knit brainstorms, and then I also want this to be a place where I am collecting information about my hand spinning projects. So that's what you just saw me do in the vlog footage. And yeah, so just like little notes on yardage for each of the skeins. And then I got this little Canon Ivy printer. It uses zinc to print, so it doesn't have an ink cartridge or anything. It's rechargeable, and you just put the little photo inserts. They're pretty small and they have a sticky back, which is honestly perfect for this kind of documentation. The color quality isn't amazing. It's definitely not 100% color correct, but I think it's good enough for what I want to use it for, which is mostly just a visual reference for what I am documenting. So that's what's been going on in here. I guess the spinning has been a big draw for me over this last month. I mentioned in my last vlog that I was kind of getting back into my Turkish spindles, and that had been a really fun thing for me, which then reminds me of an announcement that I need to make of the Harlow Hat Make-Along that I'm hosting with Mackenzie of M to the Third and Claire of the Pearlwise Knitting Podcast, both on YouTube. I will link them below in the description. I am huge fans of their channels and their creativity and their makes and everything, so it's an honor to be hosting a make-along with them. And this is my first time kind of dipping my toes into a make-along thing. So that's exciting. And the make-along itself is a spin it to knit it make-along. So we're spinning yarn to knit into the Harlow hat, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It comes in a fingering and a worsted weight version, which I think is fabulous for hand spun. I think the brioche pattern can be very forgiving in terms of gauge. It's very stretchy, you know, so it can be flexible. I've made 2 Harlow hats, one with hand spun, and it's one of my favorite hat patterns, and knitting with hand spun is just so special. So I hope you will consider joining along if you're a spinner. Spinning for a hat quantity isn't too much. I don't think, you know, it's not a sweater quantity, so you, I think, can get away with, you know, 4 ounces or less of fiber, depending on, yeah, I think for either one that should be fine. Anyway, I have been kind of slow going on my Harlow spin, but I'm breaking into some very special fiber, and I'm going to show that. And that fiber is by Kiara Wiggins. These 3 bats are some of hers that I've purchased at different fiber festivals in the last year or so. And they're all different shades of blue, different fiber combinations, and I think it's going to be fun to mix together. My idea is to spin obviously these each as their own singles and then ply them together as a sort of tonal blue 3-ply yarn. My first little spin of the singles is here. It's so cute. I've been doing, or I did this on my tiny little Turkish spindle that I really, really love so much. This is by Snyder spindles, which I think you can get on Etsy, and this one is 15 grams. So really tiny, really light, perfect for spinning really fine singles. So I'm excited. I love Kiara's fiber, and the bats, these bats are really fun. You can see this one has some like orange in it, and there's some Angelina, so it's got a little bit of sparkle to it. And same with this guy. He's got some fun color pops and a sparkle. And then this one's a little bit more muted, but has these little black specks. So I'm interested to see how it's going to come out as a 3-ply. I'll probably spin this amount of singles for each of the bats and then ply them together and kind of create a little sample that way, and maybe start knitting as I'm still spinning the rest of the bats. I'm thinking I want to do, sorry, there's a siren. I'm thinking that I want to do just single color of the blue. I don't have a lot of just blue knits, and I seem to be in a blue phase. I've been wearing this blue sweatshirt like nonstop recently. So I think I'm just gonna do a single blue Harlow hat for my first one. I have an idea for a second one, which I will share about in a second, but the pattern is actually written for 2-color brioche, but it's super easy to adapt that to a single color brioche. You know, just don't use the second color. And yeah, it creates a nice fun effect. My second spin that I want to start, because obviously I'm doing this on the blue one is on my spindles. I'll probably ply on my wheel just to make it easier for myself to hold 3 singles with the spindle. Could get a little finicky. But I don't have anything on my wheel right now because I've been sampling some fleece spins and, you know, nothing major. So I think I want to spin for another Harlow hat. I did some stash diving. I have a little collection of nest fiber braids from when I was a member of her club a couple years ago now. I really love Nest Fibers colors, and yeah, I was in just the kind of pure wool club, so I've been spinning with a lot of silk blends recently, and I've just have been craving, it's just been getting too shiny or something for me. I'm craving just kind of pure wool. So I pulled out this braid, which is not in a braid form, but this fiber, and this was from November, either last November or the November before, I can't remember, maybe 2 Novembers ago. And I believe the colorway is called Glad Tidings. So it's got some fun kind of red tones, but then you've got purple and some orange and blues and greens. And I think it would just be a cute hat. You know, I just have 4 ounces of this, perfect for a hat quantity. And I've been really enjoying spinning comb top, long draw over the fold style on my wheel. So I think I'm going to start that this weekend, and we'll see where it takes me. I haven't decided if I want to divide the braid in half and create a 2-ply, or do a chain ply and kind of try to keep the colors more together. I'm not sure. Maybe a 2-ply. Kind of like 2-plies. Feel the light fading quickly. The winter sun is leaving us. Lastly, I don't want to talk too much about this because I don't really have a whole lot to share, although I have done quite a bit of work regarding this project. But this is some Shetland fleece that I processed a couple weeks ago. It was a 1-pound lamb's fleece. It's so soft. And so kind of like lustrous. And so I've got just over a pound, or no, just under a pound of bats carded up. I think I ended up with 14 or so ounces of fiber. So I've been starting to do some sample spins and see how I want to do this. I haven't these are my little samples. I haven't skeined them up yet, and I just finished applying them the other day. I need to skein them and wash them and kind of see how I feel about them. But I've got 3 little samples here. So these 2, although I applied them on my Turkish spindle, I did spin the singles on my wheel, kind of trying a few different settings, although they look pretty similar, I would say. I don't know. It's hard to say when it's in this form still, but I tried one with my regular flyer and kind of trying to go against my default spin and spin like slightly thicker for a little like closer to a DK weight yarn, although I think I ended up just spinning finer than that. And then this other one, I put my fast flyer on my wheel and spun my default. This last one, which I think might be my favorite in this form, you know, I need to scan it and see still, but feels the loftiest. These singles I spun on my larger Snyder Turkish spindle here, and this one is 31 grams. So, and I applied it on there too. With past fleeces, I've been more meticulous with the picking and kind of, you know, taking bits out before carding than I was with this fleece. I'm feeling like my bats have a little bit more neps in them than I would prefer. I think I just wanted to leave all of that fiber in there. I didn't want anything to not go in because I only had a pound of the fleece. So a lot of the sampling was to see just how it would spin up without really picking through everything. On the knitting side of things, I'll cut away to some videos of my works in progress, but I finished a pair or two pairs of baby mittens to send to a friend. So those are off to their toddler recipients. They're really cute. I did red and white stripes because my friend and her husband are live in Indiana. They went to IU, as did I, and that's how we became friends. And so I've been calling them the little Hoosier mittens. What else have I been working on? I started a new project, actually two new projects. I casted on a pressed flowers kerchief a couple weeks ago, and that has been quick progress. It's been a very satisfying knit because it's quick and easy. The pattern repeat was memorizable from the beginning, and it's been a very relaxing and fun knit. I kind of went stash diving for it. It's a combo of a hand spun mini skein that I think I might have shown in my last vlog. I spun it on my Turkish spindles not too long ago. And then the main color that I'm using is a yarn that I purchased in Italy a couple years ago. So it's been sitting in my stash waiting for something, and I really loved the color combination of the darker green and the light purple. And I had some kind of coordinating fluffy yarns to go along with each color and so that I could use a bigger needle, honestly. I didn't really want to knit a fingering weight kerchief in this moment in time. Maybe we'll probably knit a fingering weight version of it soon, but it's been a lovely pattern and it's free, which is amazing and so satisfying. Would highly recommend. So that's been keeping me company when I just want something a little bit interesting but not overly complicated. For when I'm craving something complicated, I casted on the new Ego Knit pattern, the Boreas sweater. It's a beautiful cabled pullover with kind of like a, I forget what kind of style you call it, but it's got like a little V-neck. It's like a V crew. It's been fun and also satisfying in different ways than the pressed flowers kerchief. I, kind of out of character for me, swatched 3 times to figure out which yarn I wanted to use. I'm really trying to stick to knitting with my stash. The first swatch I did was with the darker gray, which is a farm yarn that I purchased from Rhinebeck, I think 3 years ago now. And that yarn has been a little bit of a mystery for me in terms of like what it wants to become. I've tried to knit it now into 2 different sweaters that have failed and I've ripped them out. So I swatched for this one. It would have been the 3rd sweater attempt for this yarn, and it wasn't quite right. So from there I decided to pull out my Newtoden stash, swatched with a sweater quantity of Newtoden that I have, and the color is now escaping me, but a really gorgeous brown, but like different kind of brown. Newtoden is so special in that it gets so many different shades in one. I don't know, it's like its own thing. It's a very, special yarn. And I liked it, but you know, because it was slightly darker, I felt like the definition of the cables wasn't popping as much as I wanted it to. That shade is, I really love that shade of Nutidance, so I want to save it for, I think, a more basic stockinette sweater to really let the color of that yarn shine through. So I was like, okay, Nutrigen's not working. What other kind of worsted weight yarn do I have in stash? And I had a bunch of Let Lopi. So I swatched with that, and it was kind of instantly the winner. The colorway of the Let Lopi that I'm using, I think it's like warm beige heather maybe. I'll find it. It's in Ravelry on my project page, and I've had that yarn for quite some time, so it feels really good to pull it out of stash and be working on it. I have reached kind of a good pausing point in the project. I've got I think that first back panel all set, and then yeah, so I'm gonna pause on it while I finish up a few other projects, like my Ingrid sweater. I am very excited to be like halfway through the second sleeve on my Ingrid sweater. I was hoping to have it done by this time, but you know, life gets busy sometimes, and I'm taking it as it comes. As I've mentioned in the past, it's been a very on and off kind of long going project, and I think it's going to be a really cozy sweater and get quite a bit of wear when I finish it. That's where I've been at with my knitting and spinning. I've been kind of percolating on ideas for the loom. I have some hand towels that I would like to weave in the next couple of weeks as gifts. And then after that, I have some larger personal weaving projects that I want to start on. I'm probably going to do some sampling with that. So then hopefully in the new year, I can get going and start thinking about, yeah, something larger, which is exciting. I have some sewing in the back of my mind that I would like to do. It's just hard. Yeah. I'm trying to really pick my priorities right now, and it's been knitting and spinning. So I know that the seasons will shift, and I'll probably, you know, switch to weaving and sewing, and that'll be fine. That time will come. December is just around the corner, and I'm looking forward to Advent season. I have 2 Advent boxes that I'm going to open this year, and I have ideas for what I want to make with them already. So I'm hoping to knit with one throughout the month of December as I'm opening it, and then I think for the second one, it's going to be a little bit more of a creative exercise in the new year as to what I make with it, but I'm hoping to put it in a sweater somehow. But ideas are still percolating. That'll be something to watch for upcoming. I think that might be all of my updates for today. I need to go buy some supplies to make a pumpkin pie, and I'm kind of craving a hot cup of tea, so I'm gonna go do that. Probably start on the spin back here. I've been trying to disconnect from my phone in a lot of ways, trying to just stop scrolling in general. I'm only saying this because if you are interested in following along with me and the other spaces on the internet. I am on Instagram as at Madison Monteze, although I am trying to be on that platform less, but you can still find me there. Um, I go through waves with it. But I also have a Substack newsletter, which I don't think you need to have a Substack account. I think you can just sign up with your email like a normal email newsletter. And that is called Soulcraft. And that's a name that I'm also trying to bring over here into this YouTube space. Just because it's feels more all-encompassing of my creative life, my creative world. It's not just knitting. I also don't want it just to be my own name. So Soulcraft just felt right. And so, yeah, you can follow me over on Substack there. I am trying to send out newsletters on a kind of weekly basis or just, yeah, whenever I have updates. But that's been a really fun space for me because I kind of gets me back into writing, which is not something I do a lot for other people outside of sending emails maybe in my like work life. But yeah, so it's like a fun, different form of a creative diary for myself, and I would love for you to join me over there in that space as well if you would like to. Again, make along details and info will be in the description box below, as well as any links to anything that I've mentioned. And now I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to cut myself off. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season. Can I say that? It's basically December, right? And I hope you will join the make along, and I will talk to you soon.